Today, we're diving into the incredible life and the sudden tragic death of Dr. Myles Munroe. Now, this was a global leader whose message about finding your purpose reached literally millions. But it was his final moments, his very last flight, that sent this massive shockwave around the entire world. Think about it. A private jet, that speaks of success, right? A global leader, that's immense influence. And then, a tragic end. A profound, shocking loss. This is the story of a man who spent his entire life helping other people find their path, only to have his own journey cut so brutally short. So, to really get a handle on his legacy, we have to start with the event that brought it all to such a sudden, heartbreaking end. We're talking about the flight that truly shocked the world. Okay, let's set the scene. The date was November 9, 2014. Dr. Munroe, he was on his way to a big leadership conference, one that his own ministry had organized. You know, he was all set to deliver another one of his powerful messages.
And his final moments, man, they were just swift and absolutely devastating. He and his team boarded a private Learjet 36. Everything seemed normal. As they were approaching the airport in Grand Bahama, something went horribly wrong. During the landing, the jet actually struck a shipyard crane. It was just a catastrophic, instantaneous end.
And the scale of this loss, it was just immense. All 9 people on that plane were gone. That included Dr. Munroe himself, his wife Ruth, who was right there with him, and his senior vice president, a man named Richard Pinder. I mean, in just one instant, an entire leadership team was wiped out. So, you hear about this terrible crash, you see the headlines, but who really was the man at the center of it all? Who was Dr. Myles Munroe? What was this mission that he was on that put him on that plane in the first place? And why did his death hit so many people all around the world so hard?
All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about the man himself and his mission, how he went from the Bahamas to becoming this huge voice of inspiration on the world stage.
So, who was he? Well, Dr. Myles, as pretty much everyone called him, wasn't just one thing. You can't put him in a single box. He was a pastor, yes, but also a best-selling author and a motivational speaker who was known all over the globe. His influence went way, way beyond the church walls and the borders of his home in the Bahamas. And his influence was just so widespread. I mean, for starters, he founded the Bahamas Faith Ministries International, or BFMI. He was the pastor of one of the biggest churches in the whole country. But here's what's really key. He didn't just stay in the church. He took his message out into the world, training leaders in government and in the business world. He was constantly traveling. And that brings us right to the heart of it all, his life's work. So what was this core message that just captivated so many people, from, presidents of countries all the way down to everyday folks? Well, it all came down to one word: purpose. This quote right here, this pretty much sums up his entire philosophy. The greatest tragedy in life is not death, but a life without a purpose. Think about that. For Dr. Munroe, the worst thing that could happen to you wasn't dying. It was going through your whole life and never figuring out why you were even here. So yeah, this was his mission. Boiled down, it was all about helping every single person discover their unique purpose and then, and this is the important part, maximizing the potential that he believed was already inside them. He truly believed every single one of us was born with a gift that the world desperately needs. And he had this whole strategy for getting that message out there. It wasn't just one thing. He wrote best-selling books that gave people a practical framework. He delivered these incredibly powerful sermons that gave you that spark of inspiration. He trained global leaders to multiply his impact. And he built this huge international ministry to give it all a structure, to reach millions. And his books, wow, they really became these hands-on guides for millions of people. You see titles like Understanding Your Potential or The Principles and Power of Vision. They're not just titles, right? They're basically a direct invitation saying, hey, come on this journey of self-discovery and find out how you can make a real impact. 9. Let's just pause on that for a second. 9 lives. As we're talking about this massive, incredible life's work, we have to keep coming back to this number. 9 people on that plane, and they were all on their way to a leadership conference. They were living out the very principles he taught. It's just such a stark, painful reminder of the human cost of that single day. So what happens after an end like that? So sudden, so tragic. Does the message just die with the messenger? Well, in the case of Dr. Munroe, It turns out his legacy was every bit as powerful as his life. No, his voice was definitely not silenced. His legacy is still right here with us. It's in his huge library of books that you can still read. It's in the countless sermons that were recorded and are still available. And it's in the ongoing work of the Bahamas Faith Ministries. You know, when you look at it, his entire life's work was basically built to outlast him. And really, that just leaves us with this final thought to chew on. Dr. Munroe always taught that a life without purpose was the real tragedy. And then his own life, which was so full of purpose, ended in a terrible tragedy. But his message? It's still out there, still inspiring people every day. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? Maybe the real measure of a purposeful life isn't about how long it is, but about what it leaves behind.